think about what it would be like for you if you trusted your intuition for a day, or you believed, you weren't questioning, like that part of you that says, I don't think I have intuition, or I don't know how to do this, or I don't know if I can trust it. If that one went to sleep for a little while, right? And there was no problem to solve, nothing that needed to be done, and you could just live an intuitively guided life, what might that look like? So we're going to ask you or invite you to act as if your intuition is totally on board, you're completely synced up to it, and just pay attention to what do you notice in the world? Like what magical synchronicities did you see that you weren't paying attention to before? Kind of what was your experience like?
Welcome to The Intuitive Voice with your hosts, Martha Arnett and Angela Huebner, where we are going to guide you to bridge the gap between intuition and everyday life. If you keep thinking that life shouldn't be this hard, you are in the right place. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Martha, how are you?
I am good. I'm so happy to be on with you.
Yes,
so I'm excited.
Yes. So welcome to everybody. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, let's get started. We are going to start, since this is our first official pod, we are going to talk about what intuition is. And what we think is really cool, Angela has a history and a lot of knowledge and education around the science piece of intuition. I bring a lot of the art piece of intuition. And I think it's going to be really interesting as we share our different stories and perspectives on how we have approached and how we've all almost ended up in the same place.
Yeah, I think there'll be something in it for everybody, because everybody comes at this just in a little bit of a different way, and it's all okay.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're hoping to really hit home, that we each came at this and into this, which we're going to talk about today, right? Into our intuition space very differently. We met at a psychic intuitive in intuition training, and kept seeing each other there and instantly connected, because we're also psychotherapists, also master life coaches. And then now we have been for over a decade, right? Professional intuitives.
Yes.
And I think we were even before that. We just didn't know what to call it. So here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were going to start with kind of defining intuition. And, because I'm the academic, I looked it up on Webster just, to get us rolling. Right. So the official Webster definition of intuition is the ability to understand something immediately. The ability to understand something immediately.
I love that.
And I kind of like that definition. And the other one that I appreciate was, I was just reading something the other day by Carl Jung, because this is what I do, I just read a lot. But somebody asked Carl Jung how he, if he believed in God. That was the question. And Carl Jung said, I don't believe, I just know. And it's the knowing that's the difference to me between intellect and intuition. It's the intellect versus intuition. How about you? How would you define it?
Yes, I always talk about left brain versus right brain. Left brain being the intellect, the ego, all very, very important, right? And then the right brain being more of the spatial, creative. This is where I talk about where you connect spiritually, right? Through, or to your intuitive channel through the right brain. I also talk about it with clients as your inner GPS, And then also, I would say you and I both, because we've done a lot of talking about this topic, as we talk about it being our sixth sense, right? We're not the first to say that, but I think it really resonates because, if you think you've got the sense of smell and taste and touch and feel and hearing, and then we are also born with this sixth sense that for some reason in our culture really gets downplayed or shut off as we grow. And you and I will talk about that in episodes to come. But it is a sixth sense, something that we are all born with. And we are really, our mission is to help everybody reconnect, because it's so important. I mean, why would you not want to be using one of your senses?
It's back to that life doesn't have to be this hard.
That's exactly right. That's right.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not designed to be this hard, I don't think.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so what I love about what you just said about we're all born with it, I am always excited about the science behind it because, and I'll get into this a little bit, but I have always felt like, rightly or wrongly, I had to justify all the woo-woo or, anything that I was thinking about or talking about that was a little outside of the norm. I felt like I had to, justify it in some way. And so it really got me into the science. And as I think about intuition, and I work with a lot of therapists as clients, and I do a lot of training with therapists. I really think of intuition also as exquisite attunement, right? Like we have physiological nervous system structures whose whole point is to read what's happening in the environment between us energetically. And I don't mean that in a woo-woo way. I just mean that in a everything is frequency. And so we have these nervous system parts of us that are always on alert, right? Picking up whether it's safe or not safe. And science is caught up with that now. So we know that's happening. And I think that is intuition, right? That we're just now more connected to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your experience coming into your own intuition? I would love to hear that.
Well, so it's really funny because I think I've been more intuitive. I know I've been more intuitive than I was giving myself credit for. And it's you were the one, Martha, that said to me, I think you're just calling it something else, like because you're clearly doing it. I think you're just not using the right words. So in my growing up, there wasn't a lot of discussion of emotion. There wasn't a lot of discussion of beliefs. There wasn't a lot of discussion of deeper stuff. And there was certainly no value placed on introspection or just talking about this solid Midwesterner, German roots. Like we just didn't talk about this. So I didn't grow up, and I know you're going to talk about your experience in the kind of environment that really fostered that, or even in the kind of environment that our teachers, Sonia Choquette and her kids talk about, like that was just part of their language. So that was not my experience. And I had a couple of experiences though that I want to share that really got my attention and got me on that track of, ooh, wait a minute. And the first one that I can remember really clearly was I think I was a junior in college, and I was driving to see my sick grandfather. I was driving from the town I was in, Lincoln, to Omaha. I have zero sense of direction. Anybody that knows me, I don't know how I survived before GPS. I really don't, because I terrible, terrible. So my mom wisely said, "Why don't you meet us at Grandpa and Grandma's house?" Because I knew how to drive there. Somehow I totally missed the turn, had no idea where I was going, and something told me, "Get off the interstate here." And I did, and I just kept driving, and it just said, "Get off, drive, turn." Turns out the hospital that I was gonna go to was right there. And so somehow I bypassed, stopping at Grandma's house and then getting on. The upside of that, one, I was wildly surprised, as was my mother, when I called her and said I'm at the hospital. She was like, okay. But the really beautiful thing about that was it gave me about 45 minutes with my grandfather before he died without everybody else there. And so it was just one of those, I have no idea how that happened because I literally did not know where I was going. And all of a sudden the hospital was there. So that was the first kind of, what was that?
What was that? Yes.
Then the second example I want to give, and this is a completely different example. It happened when I took my first real job out of college. And so I had a psychology undergraduate degree. And what do you do with a psychology undergraduate degree? You're a bartender. That's what you do, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. So I was tending bar, and I realized I was not going to make rent. I needed to get a real job. So on a whim, I circled. This was back when you could circle ads in the newspaper. There was an interview that I went to. Long story short, it was for a wilderness camp for emotionally disturbed girls in Florida. Now, I was growing up in Nebraska at the time, went to this interview. They ended up flying me down to Florida to go to this camp and spend a couple days in the camp. It's actually living in the woods. People, kids lived in tents. We lived in tents. Are you going to do this? So I go through the interview and I'm thinking, no way in hell. No way. And I'm like, they pitched the job to me and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to think about that. And again, on the inside, my voice was no, absolutely not. I'm not going to go live in the woods with all these animals and all these bugs and these delinquent girls, right? Frankly. So I'm on the airplane flying back, and out of nowhere, I got this wham, you're taking the job. And everything in my system was like, no, you don't want to do that. And it was like, yes, you're taking it.
Yes.
And it was really quiet. And it was just, you're doing it.
Yes.
And other parts of me were like, no. And long story short, I took the job, lived there. It totally changed the trajectory of my professional career. But it was clear. That's the point. And it was a surprise because I had no intention of taking that job. None.
Yeah.
None.
Yes. It surprises you.
Exactly. It was a surprise.
Yes.
Kicking and screaming. But I knew, back to Jung's quote, I knew it was the right thing to do and I couldn't argue with it, even though other parts of me really wanted to argue with it.
That's right. That's right. That's the knowing, right?
Yeah.
Versus the intellect, the left brain.
Exactly. The intellect was like, this is bad.
That's right. There's a million reasons why we don't want to do this, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's such a juicy example.
Yeah.
A juicy, really good example. My growing up was
tell me.
Something that really set the stage for me with my intuition. We grew up rurally in Michigan, and we didn't have much. I always say I didn't have a lot of external input except for kind of what was around me. We didn't really watch TV. We didn't really go to movies. I didn't go to malls or go shopping. I remember working a lot. We worked on farms. I think I started working at age 11. But even before that, I would wander. I say we. It was me and my dog, my brother and sister. And we would wander the woods in Michigan. But often I was alone with my dog. I feel like I'm sure my brother and sister feel the same way. But I was often alone wandering around, and I really got to know who I was in those quiet moments. And I never lost that, which I realize is rare and lucky and really valuable for me and for what I do. But it set the stage for me to be able to, this speaks to what you said in the beginning, to discern between what's coming in, the external input, and my own knowing. Because I really, really got in touch with what felt like an energetic baseline for me. I didn't know any of these words. I just knew who I was, and I knew. So when things came in, I would know if that was energetically right or wrong, or if it felt good or felt bad, or if it felt, when I say good, I mean like expansive. Is that a yes? And we'll get into all this in future episodes. But so for me, intuition is something that, and so when I say intuition with who I was in those quiet moments, I listened and I got a sense of what was right or wrong for me from a very young age. And I even tell the stories, like even in high school, I was kind of boring. I never really went out because it didn't feel right for me. I'm a HSP, a highly sensitive person. I'm an extreme empath. We'll talk about those too. And going out to some of those places felt horrible, and it didn't feel right. So I didn't do it. I didn't even question it because I knew intuitively those were not places I wanted to be. So I've always been in touch with my intuition. There are times I didn't listen to it, and I definitely have stories around that also. Yeah, they're not great. And then I think that's another really important thing. We may know what our we may know that inner knowing, we may know what that sixth sense is saying, but we override it. We override it, right, with our intellect.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, that's the cool thing is we always have choice, right? Just because you hear or have the knowing, that doesn't compel you to follow it.
That's right.
I tend to regret that later, but you don't have to. You have choice.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was I was a high school senior, and I was standing in my driveway, and my best friend was, or junior, I was a junior. My best friend was supposed to pick me up, and I thought she was going to drive in with her car, and she pulls in a car that I did not recognize with two people in the driver's seat and the passenger seat. I did not recognize. My friend was in the back. Every cell in my body said, don't get in that car. Do not get in that car, Martha. Don't get in that car. What do you think I did?
You got in the car.
I got in that car. Yes, I did. I got in that car because what was I was like, what was I going to say?
Right.
All of a sudden I can't go. So I got in and I was like, oh crap, I shouldn't be here. Anyway, and just the background to that, I was never a drinker, hadn't had a drink, nothing ever, never, and did anything wrong, whatever, all those things. And so anyway, what do? They drive straight
very different childhoods.
We did. I'm not proud about it. It's just the way I was, right? Yes. I did not push limits. I did not. I just sort of did my thing. But so they drove to 7-Eleven, and what do you think they did? They bought alcohol. And what do you think happened? They put it by my feet in the back. And what do you think happened right after we pulled out of the driveway?
No.
And I got a minor in possession on my record for 7 years. I have never tasted alcohol, had never tasted alcohol, nothing. And now I have this on my record, and I knew every cell in my body knew not to get in that car.
There you go.
So I love that example. I love to give that example.
It's a great one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, I'm struck by, again, for you, you've always been connected to it. You always knew. I had those early experiences, and then I overrode it. I lost touch. I was too, I don't know, externally focused. I wasn't connected internally until, oh gosh, I don't know, probably late 30s, early 40s. And then something tipped for me, like a whole bunch of things went bad is what happened, right? But then I fell back into it and have been studying it intensely and living like that ever since then. So part of that is it's never too late, because it's always there. For me, it got covered over, or I got too distracted with the intellect, because in my family, in my whatever milieu, intellect was valued. Moreover than knowing, or art, for crying out loud. I'm like, art, right? So I just think it's a really great juxtaposition, the way we both began and where we've ended up.
Absolutely. And I think what you said is how you started with it, and then you lost it for a bit, and then you came back to it. And I would say that would be the norm. Yeah. With all the clients that I work with around teaching intuition and folks in my soul coaching practice, is they had connection early on. Matter of fact, I met a new neighbor last night, and they invited us over to their house, and I explained what I did. I said, I teach intuition. I help people reconnect with their intuition. I work at a soul level and do all these things. And one of them came up to me at the end of the evening. He said, I would really love to talk with you about reconnecting with my intuition. And people always say reconnect too.
Oh, interesting.
And he said, not that I want, this was cute. He said, not that I want to read people's minds or anything. And I wanted to he said, but I really would like to make my life a little easier. I would like to have my decisions be a little bit more clear for me. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect, because I'm starting a podcast, and this is exactly what we're talking about, And I also wanted to say that little thing that he said, I don't want to read people's minds. Just let's clear that up right now.
Right.
Intuition is not about reading people's minds. Right. And we're going to talk about in our future episodes about the difference between intuition and the psychic channel. Right. Yes. They can either they do have they're like cousins, I feel like, for me, the way that it works for me. There's a psychic channel, but also both can come in through the body, or they can come in through a different way. So we'll talk about that differently. But I wanted to clear that piece.
Well, intuition is reading your own mind, right? Like reading your body. Own system being completely in alignment. Yes. That's how I think about it.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And having it coming through the body, right? Yeah. Intuition often comes into, for some, right? Some comes in through thought, right? Some comes in through different ways of knowing.
But there's a feeling in the body that goes along with it. Because I'll hear it more audience, but it resonates in my body.
That's right. That's right. And we'll often, when I work with clients, and they'll say, well, how do I know what it's saying? Is it a yes or is it a no? And I think one really cool tool is, does it feel tightening and constrictive? And that's usually a no, right? Does it feel expansive and like an exhale and like relaxation and open? That would be a yes for most people.
And it's interesting because that constriction or expansion, here's the science nerd in me, is connected to that vagus nerve. Oh. one of those cranial nerves that innervates your viscera, like so your guts and your stomach and your, so when you get a gut feeling, part of that is connected to your brain through this vagus nerve. And when we're feeling relaxed and open, we have high vagal tone, which means we're resting and digesting. We're socially connected. Like it feels like this versus when our nervous system is sensing danger, it constricts.
Oh.
And so there's a big correlation between those two. And I think the vagus nerve is picking up even another level of safety or constriction.
I love that. Thank you for
cool?
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Another, I wanted to give one more example about, which I love, is I have construction going on in my house. And I was just upstairs a few minutes ago, and I was talking to a plumber that I've come to become really friendly with. He's a really, really interesting, really cool guy who grew up really rough on a ranch in New Mexico, where I live now. And it was so interesting. You know, you never know what people are going to say, but I'm finding most people can connect to intuition. But I was saying, hey, is it going to be very loud upstairs because I'm going to be down recording my podcast? He said, well, what are you recording? What's your podcast? And I said, I'm recording with a colleague on intuition. And I said, you know, it's what I teach. It's what I do. And he said, I used to know what was going to happen before it happened. Ooh. I mean, here's this rough guy, you know, told me about going in the backyard and his dad making him shoot his dog when he was 11, you know, like rough stuff. And he said, and then he told me a story about how he was in high school and he told a friend, he said they were going to go to a party, and he said, I got a feeling we shouldn't go. And he said, we went. And I said to that friend, please don't go. I have a bad feeling don't go to the party. Don't go to the party. And the friend ended up going, and the friend ended up getting stabbed and almost died. I know. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he and I had a really cool conversation about, where did it go for him?
Yeah.
You know, and he said he feels like he's getting it back as he's getting older. He's, you know, midlife and it's coming back online, which is, I think, when a lot of times it does. So,
well, and I think the clearer you are about who you are, the less you care. Like you don't, my grandmother always used to say, you know, you don't have to say all you know. Which means like you can think all this stuff and you don't talk to the people that are going to be your people, right? Your believing eyes, the people that will be curious with you rather than condescending or try to talk you out of, you know, what's this crazy thing you're doing.
That's right.
And so I'm really glad you're in my tribe. That you're
me too.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Oh, my goodness. Well, this has been a lovely first episode.
Yes, indeed. Now, do we have a question?
We have a question from a listener. And our question is, and this is one I get asked a lot. I know you get asked a lot because we talked about this. And the question is, how can I tell if it's intuition or fear?
Ooh, I do get asked that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do get asked that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you say?
My response to that is, again, it's a body sensation. And do you feel, does it feel neutral? So when the thought comes in, does your body feel neutral, or does it feel like that scared feeling? Because if it's a scared feeling, it's usually coming in through the intellect. If it literally just drops in, for me, it drops in like a picture, it drops in like a thought. And if it's just like, oh, that is surprise, and like you said earlier, it was surprising, right? For you when you had that, it's almost like, where did that come from? Like, that's weird, right? But it's neutral. It's almost like I'm just seeing a like a piece of paper, like, oh, weird, right? And fear is more of a thought that conjures up a thought that conjures up a thought that leads down to the road to fear. That's how I, in my very unclear way, would describe it.
Oh, I think that was very clear.
Okay.
I think that's true. I agree with absolutely all of that. I think the neutrality of it is really key, and I think it's even excited emotions. Like intuition doesn't have an emotional valence on it one way or another. It's just neutral, calm.
Yeah.
You know, just open. So if it's super excited or super scared, take a breath, just evaluate that. But for me, it's very matter of fact, very neutral. And it's an aha. It's something that I hadn't put together before. And there's usually not very many words. right? Like my
Yes.
intellect will go on a little soliloquy about why I should
That's
do the
right.
thing or not do the thing.
That's
And
right.
when it's my intuition, it's just, nah,
That's
or
right. Or
take a
take
nap,
the job.
take the job, or take a nap, or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
But that so that's those are big markers. So notice that
Yes.
a lot of people say, I think it's my intuition, and it's fear.
That's
It's
right.
just fear. Often.
Yes. And then people are scared of
Yeah.
listening to their intuition because they don't have a sense of what is what. And
Right.
that would lead us to the next thing is when I was talking earlier about I have a sense of who I am in those quiet moments. That's why meditation, that's why mindfulness, that's why
Yes.
all of those things that are helping clear out all of the external clutter so that we can learn to know what our baseline feels like when it's not being flooded with external input. Right. And then you'll know when it comes in what the information is either saying, whether it's coming in through your intellect, whether it's coming in through your body, through your sixth sense, or
Right.
what it is. Right. So that's super important. And you and I
Absolutely.
will talk about that more too. Right.
We will talk more about that. I think just at a brief little thing, Martha and I are both internal family systems trained psychotherapists, and it's a wonderful technique that helps you learn your internal world, like to be able to discern different parts of you, which makes it much easier than to discern who's doing the talking, right? Is it my intellect? Is it an emotion? Is it intuition? Is it self-energy? Is it? So we will talk more about that in future episodes, but we want to just let you know we're going to give you tools to be able to discern this.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to move to the tool now? We have one. Ready for the tool?
Yes.
All right. So we have, and we're going to do this in each episode. We're going to do an invited practice, and this is a takeaway for you if you're so moved. And so the invitation is think about what it would be like for you if you trusted your intuition for a day, or you believed, you weren't questioning, like that part of you that says, I don't think I have intuition, or I don't know how to do this, or I don't know if I can trust it. If that one went to sleep for a little while, right? And there was no problem to solve, nothing that needed to be done, and you could just live an intuitively guided life, what might that look like? So we're going to ask you or invite you to act as if your intuition is totally on board, you're completely synced up to it, and just pay attention to what do you notice in the world? Like what magical synchronicities did you see that you weren't paying attention to before? Kind of what was your experience like? Would you add to that, Martha?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. And because I do speak a little bit more woo-woo, I do, when I play this game with clients, I call it, and myself, I call it psychic for a day, but I think intuitive for a day is a little less, woo-woo.
What's the first episode? It's the first episode, Martha.
It is. We're coming in slowly. We're going to.
Right. That's right. We're going to slide
slow.
this. Yeah.
That's right. And what I love to add to that, Angela, is the really let your imagination play. Because imagination is the portal to intuition. And I'm just going to go to where I go with clients, to the spiritual realm. So the imagination is what connects us from our brain into this extra space that is just so, if you're interested in this at all, is this magical, is our, I call it the psychic space. And so what I encourage clients to do, and my husband and I play this all the time. We'll walk into a coffee shop and we'll be like, the person in the red sweater just drove in from Nevada and they had a flat tire on highway, whatever. And they're really frustrated, but they have a small dog in the back of their car that just had knee surgery. And so you just go on and on and on and on, and you let your brain play. Because the more we can loosen up our left brain, thinking, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Right? That will open up and loosen up your right brain. And then I'm sure there's all sorts of science that you could speak to behind it that supports this play. But we're going to also talk a lot about play and imagination as being a really, really important aspect. Whether you believe in the psychic space or not, it really doesn't matter. But really connecting to play and imagination is going to help you be able to connect to your intuition and to just have fun. And it will be really surprising to you what drops in. I have no doubt.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because nothing very entertaining has come from my intellect. It's quite helpful and all of those things. But the fun, right, and the magic come from the unexpected. right?
That's right.
The right brain stuff. So I'm really glad you added that. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I think we've got it in the bag, my friend. What do you think?
I think so. That was so
All
much
right.
fun. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.